Welcome to Historical Crime Chronicles. In today's intriguing episode, we delve into the curious and often bizarre world of animals entangled in the human justice system. Throughout history, animals have found themselves at the center of strange legal proceedings. From pigs put on trial for murder in medieval Europe to roosters prosecuted for laying eggs, these cases highlight the eccentric ways our ancestors sought justice. We'll explore the fascinating details of these animal trials, uncovering the social and cultural beliefs that drove such peculiar events. Stay tuned for a journey through history that reveals the curious incidences of animals in courtrooms. In June 1882, the popular Myers Circus was performing at the Alexandra Palace in London. One of the main performers was a blind elephant called Blind Bill. Blind Bill was actually female and was about 7 tons in weight. She was known for being very quiet, docile, and out of the 6 elephants, she was the easiest to handle. She had been with the circus for 20 years. However, 13 years prior, a cruel groom had poked her eye out, and she eventually lost sight in her other eye and went completely blind. The groom was immediately dismissed, but 2 years later their paths crossed again. The Myers Circus was performing at Brighton, and the same groom came into the stable, slapped the elephant and said, "This is the old brute that got me dismissed." On hearing the man's voice, Blind Bill pushed the groom up against a wall and twisted his head. The groom survived, however. Ever since that day, people said that the groom was cross-eyed. Was it a coincidence, or had the elephant remembered the cruel groom? Fast forward 11 years and the circus was in Reading. Charles Hodges, a 27-year-old man, was selling fruit and vegetables from a basket. Blind Bill put her trunk in the basket and ate the contents. An audience had gathered and they were laughing. Charles grew very angry. He pulled out his penknife and stabbed the animal in the trunk. I'm not sure how, as he was clearly cruel to animals, but 8 months later, Charles got the job as the elephant's groom. Between 8 and 9 o'clock on Sunday, the 28th of June, Charles had been gored to death by the elephant. When the body was found, he had a pitchfork lying next to him, and he had been half squashed against a pillar. Blind Bill only had tusks that were 2 to 3 inches and were mainly covered by skin, but on this occasion, she had managed to uncover her tusks and attack Charles. At the inquest, the coroner came to the conclusion that it was accidental death. However, was it in retaliation to Charles's cruelty? As the saying goes, an elephant never forgets. Comedy in court. In 1886, a well-known travelling punch and Judy showman named Professor Walter Carcass had a unique response for the court. He had been charged with being drunk and disturbing the peace in Old Kent Road in Cardiff. The magistrate's clerk asked Mr. Carcass to rise and said that, "You are charged with being drunk." To which Walter replied, "No, sir, I gave the donkey too much corn." The magistrate said that, "It was not the donkey who was charged with being drunk, it is you." Walter Carcass knew perfectly well why he was in court. It turned out that he was also charged with furiously driving a donkey. When this charge was mentioned, the gentleman replied that the policeman told him to get down quickly, and he did so. But whilst demonstrating to the jury with actions, he went on to say, the idea of furiously driving a donkey was utterly preposterous. However, the ride down one of the main streets in Cardiff at that time cost the Punch and Judy entertainer 20 shillings in fines. The same gentleman was in court many times for being drunk and disorderly in different locations up and down the country. On a few occasions, his poor dog Toby, who was the main performer in his show, ended up being pawned to pay for the fine. One particular time, Walter was actually in court because of Toby. In 1897, a muzzling order was passed through Parliament because there was a problem with rabies. This meant that all dogs in public had to have a collar and muzzle on. This seriously ruined Walter's Punch and Judy, as Toby was the star of the show. Walter completely ignored this muzzling order during his shows, but a policeman noticed that the dog had no collar or muzzle, and he was summoned to court. Toby arrived in court wearing a Union Jack bandana under the arm of his owner. Walter protested against the charge and said, "This is only poor Toby. I can't muzzle the dog. If I do, how is he going to bite Punch's nose?" There was a lot of laughter from the court. Walter was always the showman and didn't disappoint on this occasion. The magistrate ignored the defendant's plea and charged him 10 shillings. To which Walter replied, "For a Punch and Judy dog, please don't be hard, gentlemen." The magistrate then actually reduced the fine and said that Walter was to pay 5 shillings by the next Monday. Walter asked for more time to repay the fine, but he had already pushed his luck and the court were not willing to change their mind any further. 2 years later, rabies was under control and the muzzling order was relaxed. Other animals in court. This is not the only time an animal has been in court. In October 1928, a French lady, Madame Sarah Carist, kept a lion in her Parisian apartment. When the concierge saw the lady taking the lion by its mane up the stairs to her apartment, he protested immediately. The Union of Paris Concierge rallied to support the concierge and put pressure on the police to have the lion removed from the apartment. The owner refused, and subsequently, the lion ended up in court. The court, however, said that until the lion roared, they couldn't enforce the removal of the lion. As soon as the lion roared, it would come under the same category as a saxophone and could be banned for disturbing the sleep and peace of the surrounding residents. Staying in France, records from 1120 and 1740 show that nearly 100 animals were tried for different offences. In 1457, a sow and her piglets were tried in Savigny for having murdered and eaten a child. The sow was given an actual trial, and the owner was accused only of negligence but did not face any punishment. The sow, however, was found guilty and was sentenced to death. The piglets were acquitted because of their young age. The medieval period saw a lot of these bizarre cases. There was so much unrest during these times, and extreme measures were taken by the justice system to maintain law and order as much as possible. In Germany, 1927, a canary was applauded in court. A woman had been accused of murdering her husband. The police had a witness, a fortune teller who said she was hiding in the next room, and she claimed that she overheard an incriminating conversation. The judge called the fortune teller's canary to court. The reason for this was because the canary, which the fortune teller had with her at the time, sang so loud and continuously, suggesting that it would be impossible to hear anything at all. The canary was brought into court, and as predicted, the bird sang so loud it received a round of applause. The fortune teller was therefore discredited. Today, the role of animals in court has shifted significantly. Animals are no longer defendants, but can be plaintiffs or subjects of custody battles, as seen in cases involving pet ownership disputes. Additionally, over the years, people's opinions towards animals and pets have changed, leading to legislation aimed at protecting their welfare. Service animals and therapy animals also play crucial roles in courtrooms, providing emotional support to witnesses and victims. A stark contrast to the animal trials in the Dark Ages. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Historical Crime Chronicles, where we uncovered the remarkable tale of an elephant's stand against its cruel groom. Truly, an elephant never forgets. From ancient courts to modern trials, animals have been more intertwined with justice than we often realise. Whether as witnesses, evidence, or defendants, their stories shed light on the unique and often surprising intersections between nature and law. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the extraordinary world of historical crime, please give us a thumbs up, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. If you have got any fascinating animal crime stories or thoughts on this episode, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious and keep uncovering the hidden tales of history with us here on Historical Crime Chronicles.